What strategies in building the Golden State Warriors fan base can you bring into league in terms of fanship building tools?
I think it's really important to empower players to be who they are and to be genuine. It's really easy. I mean, look, you guys have a job to make people look good sometimes, right? And to come up with content that people will enjoy. But I think for us, it's really about connecting like to the heart of the fan. And it's hard to do that without player buy-in. So we really want to empower our players to get directly to people. And I think that is a great part about esports. Traditional sports is just figuring this out. That the way to someone's heart is to have Steph Curry talk to them directly. Or, to have, we have a player, JaVale McGee, who does Parking Lot Chronicles, and he films stuff in the parking lot after games with whoever's walking around. But that speaks to people because it makes these famous athletes one of them. And the reality is I've been around a lot of these people now for a long time. They are one of us. They just happen to be bigger in basketball. I think in esports, that community already in a way exists. The fact that you can directly talk to the players over social media or watch them practice, learn from them, that is terrific. So we want to build on that. We want a genuine conversation, a genuine discussion with fans. And we're really going to go about empowering our players to do that and to help them build their brands. I want to, there's the old saying, like, if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach him to fish, he'll eat for the rest of his life. That's how I feel it's going to be with our players and our staff. We're certainly going to help them get to where they need to go, but we're not going to do it for them. We need to lend a hand and help them, show them the path, and then they're really going to have to take this thing across the finish line. But that's exciting. That's why you need good people. That's why you need players who are good people, because you want them to have the same thoughts that you do in that sort of building.
The Lacobs have always called it running businesses Silicon Valley style. You guys even won the Sports Business Award for your business management. What does it mean to run an organization Silicon Valley style, and how does that apply to running an esports org?
So I think in a lot of places, running something like Silicon Valley is a joke. Right, there's an HBO show about it and the disaster that you can have in running a company, starting a company. But I think it's a mindset about being able to take risks, being willing to do so, trying to change things, challenging the status quo, but also working with a sense of transparency and believing that everybody has a voice. When we have meetings of any sort in Golden State, it's always about, let's talk about what we're here to talk about. Let's be transparent, say what we're really feeling, and let's listen to every voice in the room. We're going to bring that same sort of management style to the Golden Guardians and to esports, and I think I don't think it's something that doesn't exist in esports. I also don't think that every team or every organization is probably operating that way, and our hope is to, bring a real honest and hardworking and forward-thinking style.
When Joe Lacob took over the Golden State Warriors, he redid everything. He got rid of a lot of the staff and rebuilt it. But most importantly, he didn't really care about player popularity. He got rid of a lot of popular players. You guys just wanted to build a team that would win, that was strong. Is that sort of the mindset you're going into and building your league roster as well?
It's going to be a lot easier to start from scratch in some respects. We don't have anything to... We got very lucky. We had Steph Curry before. He had only been there 1 year, but we had him. We don't have a Steph Curry on board. So we're going to have to build from scratch. But that's really exciting, getting to build something. There's a lot more you can do when you're in at the foundational level. And some of the things you mentioned, one of the first things we did was we canvassed what was happening, tried to see who had good skills, who didn't. And we also completely changed the physical office. Tore down walls, made everything so that you could see who's working next to you and actually have a conversation with them, made glass in between executive offices and everybody else so that there's full transparency. And people would say, what if I'm working on something sensitive? And we're like, what is so sensitive that no one else could ever see? And he said, as the CEO, as the boss, I'm going to have the same thing. So you should all fall in line. But we're excited to bring some of those ideas and to kind of rapid prototype here. We're not afraid of failure. We did fail at the beginning. The Golden State Warriors, it took a couple years to make the playoffs and to build up a run. So we're not afraid to build things up. But I'm excited about that challenge. I think that if we continue to do things the way we have done things with Golden State and do things the right way, good things will happen. We are certainly, I think in sports in general and in any competitive environment, you are results driven to an extent. You care about who wins the championship. You care if your team misses the playoffs or if you have people who aren't representing your brand well. But the reality is to get to that results oriented style, you need to be process driven. So we're going to be very process driven from the very beginning. We're going to try to go out and get great people who have a very high ceiling, and that might not mean, that they are the best person for the job today, but we think they're going to be the best person for the job very soon, and hopefully the best person at that job, period. And that includes players too. We think we're going to be able to put together a nice roster, but we have our eye on not just this year, we have our eye on the next year, the next split, and building something that can sustain so that we can have a great runway and continue to win and do great things going forward.
What is the Golden Guardians brand going to be? Why will people be fans of the Golden Guardians, and how are you going to establish that?
Well, I think be the first to admit we have a long way to go. The Golden State Warriors, this brand, is incredibly strong across the world. That means nothing in esports as far as I'm concerned. I think at some point it'll be helpful. I think if you're questioning whether we might get off to a good start or not, you'll say, they probably have a chance. They've proved in other ventures that they've done a good job. But by no means are we going to rest on our laurels and say, this bridge logo right here is going to solve everything. So we did want to create some cross-brand alignment. It was important. I think it's pretty obvious. I've even caught you a few times, right? Between Golden Guardians and Golden State, it's easy to get caught up in it, and that's actually good. But we first of all, we wanted something. When we talk about the name, we wanted something that was different from Golden State Warriors, but that you could see the resemblance. And I think, as you look at what is a warrior, you can ask somebody that in any culture. It can mean something different for everybody. The mindset of a warrior, definition of warrior could change. And I've always said, what's great about that as a name is that you can pick your own warrior. You can be your own warrior. I think a guardian is very similar. It's about defending what you have. It's about having pride in what it is that you're defending. So to me, a guardian is a symbol of strength. It can still be kind of whatever you want it to be. It could be something from Thor, as like a guardian of Asgard. It could be a guardian from some medieval time in Earth's history. It could be something more current. But the great part about being a guardian is it is what you want, but it stands for something. And I think that links those two ideas together really well. Our logo, it's still our same Golden State Warrior shape and some of the colors, but it is a little bit different. It's a little bit more focused on, I think, the brand that we're trying to create. Whether it's a spear or a sword hilt or whatever you want it to be, it's clearly something that shows strength. And yet we were still able to build part of our bridge in that we love. And I've talked about this before, but we love the idea of bringing things together, a bridge of sorts. That's exactly what it's supposed to stand for. It's bringing the Bay Area together. Well, now we're trying to bring more than the Bay Area together. We're trying to bring a global community together, and we're trying to bring fans together, whether they're traditional sports fans or esports fans. We want people to be brought together and have pride and kind of a shared thing, and that is the Golden Guardians. So we understand that we have to build out a real motto, something that people can rally behind. But I think the same way the Golden State Warriors are something that everybody can be a part of.
You mentioned that you don't currently have a Steph Curry, or the scene itself may not have a Steph Curry. How do you build a star like that?
Well, for one, it's the person has to do it, right? We didn't build Steph Curry. We empowered him and gave him the tools, but he had to do it himself. And I think at some point you'll see that person. There's obviously some very famous players out there. It's hard because the scene is younger than traditional sports, and in basketball we have 80 years worth of stuff to look back on, and you could look at all the stars from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so forth all the way to today. in esports, it obviously moves a little quicker, but it hasn't been that long. I think we need to find someone who's special. I think one thing that's going to add to that is I think careers are going to start to elongate. It's hard to build a huge following and a huge brand and something that stands the test of time when your peak was only a couple of years. But I think as these players are able to go for a longer period of time and are able to focus on getting better every day because they have more resources, I think you're going to start to see some incredible things. So it takes, Steph Curry is an example of someone who not only has amazing ability in his field on the court, but also off the court. He's just an impressive person. And, we're going to look for those sorts of people with emotional intelligence, social intelligence, not to mention game intelligence.
How do you empower that when you find it?
You have to ask them, what is it that you do best and how do you do it? And I think one of the realizations that comes to people when they really start to take off is knowing what you don't know. We try to help people learn what it is that they do really well, but also what they don't know. And I think, dispatching that insecurity and being able to surround yourself with people who are going to make you better is a way to really improve. And Steph Curry is an example of that. He's someone who he heard what people were saying that he couldn't do. He listened. He didn't just fight it. He obviously did fight it, but he didn't just fight it. He went to find people who could help him with those sorts of things. He entrusts his teammates and his coaches and the staff to help him with the things that he's not equipped to do. Our head coach, Steve Kerr, is one of the best I've ever seen at this. As a person, he knows what he doesn't know. And I think to be a superstar in anything, you got to have a little bit of a screw loose. To be a genius, you got to be a little different. You have to be wired just a little bit differently. But if you're hyper competitive and you're really smart and you're also self-aware, you've got an opportunity to be really terrific. So that's what we're going to look for. People who have all those terrific abilities, but are also very self-aware.
For more league interviews and analysis, subscribe to our channel. You can also find stats, discussions, and more on our website and mobile app at blitzesports.com.